So this is another experiment that I've wanted to test. This is ABA, the plant growth hormone. It induces stress and is used as a stress inducer for various reasons. And I want to see if it increases the alkaloid content in my plants. So this is at 10%. So I want a dosage of 500 ppm. That would be 500 milligrams in a liter, but since it's only 10%, I'm doing it in 100 milliliters. So this should be water soluble. So I'll just stir this up a bit, and then I'll apply it as a foliar to a cactus I'll be cutting. I'll have a control and the experiment itself. And the dosage, I am just really guessing. An appropriate dose would be maybe 250 to 500 ppm. Higher doses may or may not induce a higher alkaloid production. You can also use this to induce dormancy, and it's used for various other reasons. You could just research for that. I wonder if this could be used to help induce flowering as well. I may experiment that in the future. And here's the weight. This one is heavier, so I'm going to use this as the control. 525 grams. It's at 15 centimeters. And the part for the experiment, also 15 centimeters at 467 grams. I don't really have a great way to apply this, so I decided to just wrap it in a paper towel, and I'll wet the paper towel. It should allow it to absorb a bit. And I'll just keep this wrapped for, say, an hour, letting it soak and absorb the ABA. And that's pretty much it. I'll do a single application this time. If there's any promising results, I'll either consider a higher dose or multiple doses. So I just got done with the third treatment of the UVC radiation, and today there was a difference. There was some slight damage on the treatment. You can see some discoloration. It's not soft. It actually seems to be more rigid than the controls. It does seem to be forcing some new growth, but it's very rigid still. Well, you can see there's a discoloration. It's an orangish hue and it's darker. And like I mentioned, I do it both sides. I do it 10 minutes at this side and 10 minutes on the opposite. And it's mostly on this section, on the the top portion. The rest is only rigid, but I don't see any discoloration. All of the cuttings are very firm, and so far that's the only noticeable damage. And the controls, you can see here. Everything is pretty much still uniform, except for the very top section here. Today is day 7. Yesterday I did the final application, so I did 6 applications of the 10-minute UVC radiation. So today I'm going to weigh both of them. Here's the control at 371 grams. So there was a slight drop, I believe. And here is the experiment. At 382. So visually, the control expectedly has zero noticeable differences, no blemishes or anything, while the experiment has a bit more of this orange discoloration. Very strong here. It seems kind of like a sunburn, which makes sense since it's light radiation. There's a large orange section here, and later I'll be cutting this to see if there's any physical changes as well. I'm interested to see how this looks underneath, if it's just the green flesh, the chlorophyll, or if it's actual deeper damage. And then this one also has a slight amount of the orange discoloration, and that's pretty much it. So this is the darkest discoloration. It looks to be very thin here, but it's actually the inner rib, and the actual flesh remains thick. I'll be cutting it vertically at that point. I noticed some of the cells seem to be very swollen. I will need to cut the control just to compare it a little bit better, but if you can see near the outer flesh, it's very swollen. It almost looks like a cucumber. Usually it's more sponge-like and not so swollen. So this clone now is among the strongest in my collection. It's the second Brigezi that I have that's over 3% HCl salt, and the rest are usually much lower. This one is among the weakest, and this one is pretty average at the control was, I think, 1.6, and then the treatment with ABA was lower at, I think, 1.4 or 1.3. But yeah, in general, the Brigezis are pretty good. And the reason I comment on this is that I finished the experiment, and with the ABA, as I already mentioned, there was a drop in the total content. I shared elsewhere some colors of HCl water poles. I'll probably share it here too. And it was just a lower content. The discoloration or impurities were exactly the same as the control. But the UVC treatment is what made a big difference. The content, weight in total didn't make a big difference, but you can see the color. The lighter brown here is the treated result, and the top is the control. The control has some very dark discoloration, and it also has a tar-like material that had different properties when it was drying. It's extremely hygroscopic, so it pulls water from the atmosphere, whereas the treated UVC treatment, it dried much easier, the water. It didn't have trouble, and it was not hygroscopic. It didn't pull or become a goo again, and a very lighter color, minimal color impurities compared to the control on top. The content was just a loss of around 1.5%, which is possible. It could just be losses from transferring and extraction quality and such. These were extracted in the past. I did not keep the recorded amount, so I need to redo them in the future. And like I mentioned, this one was fairly weak, and I think the weakest was this one with as low as 0.4%. This one was around 0.7, I think. Most of them I didn't do at all. And you can see the girdle from a previous experiment. I can't do a direct correlation that it increased the girth, but you can see how they're coming out. I've yet to do an experiment with the Borghese Monstrose, my Trichoceres Borghese press as well. The outer flesh of the Lophophora, I did do an extraction of the skins that I did in the past. Originally I planned to do small oral tests with MAOI, but I went against that since I didn't have much time, and I decided to just do a cache extraction, and I ended up with a very small yield. It was higher than the first attempt that I did, but I only got around 0.4 something percent, and based on the properties of the crystals, they were not the main alkaloid. So either the graft is affecting, or it's maybe a clonal issue, but yeah. And I'll show the chart that I have on the most recent experiment with the extractions. And I was actually surprised with the ABA treatment, but it goes to show that many things you do need to test it yourself, and theory isn't always what practical results show. Based on some research though, the ABA is an antagonist to the jasmanic acid hormone, the JA, and since the ABA was pretty high and external, it causes the JA to stop production, so that could be the reason for the lower alkaloid content. In the future, I do want to try adding the JA as a foliar to see if it increases the biosynthesis, which it should, since it's a pretty major some papers say defensive hormone. So that'll be my attempt. And my other cacti, this is my only active Peruvianus. This one tested at 2.7, and this is my other Borghese, and it also tested at 3%, similar to the other most recent experiment.